was ideal.
Yeah, awesome. So we are now live. Let's see here. Can you see my name down at the bottom by any
Yep,
chance?
everything looks good on my end.
Perfect. Yeah, you're perfect. I can see your name as well. So as you can see, I am Jess Hedstrom. I'm the community manager here at Sculpteo, and I'm super excited to hop into this webinar. Alex, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure, yeah. I'm Alex Chryson, user experience designer here at Sculpteo. Yeah, and that's it. So I've been doing these webinars for a while. Jess is with me now, and Jess, you'll be taking over from next week, right?
I am, yeah. And the main purpose of these webinars is to be able to kind of walk you through topics. So we actually this time around are finishing up our let's see, it's the Alex, can you help me out? It's what's the name of the
this user experience term I use is the critical path.
Thank you. Yes. I was
the critical
blanking.
user path. No worries. So the critical user path, basically, to explain it to everyone else who may be joining us, is you have this idea that any user who comes to Sculpteo, they're coming with a task. They need to do something. And in our case, it's 3D print something. And actually, I can show that. I've got the little map of our things here.
Yes.
What we've been presenting. So I'll show that now.
Beautiful map here. This guide.
Where are we? I just have to show this. So here we are. So I presume you can see my screen now.
Yep.
So basically, this is what the critical path is for Sculpteo, is where you either have to get or create 3D file, upload it, make sure that it's 3D printable. So we do that automatically for you with our repair tools. You choose your material, scale, things like this. You move through to optimizing your file. So this is optimization in the sense of being able to get more bang for your buck, so to speak. So this includes hollowing out your models, so you're using less material, printing batches, so you can save up to 30 to 70% in some cases, depending on how you stack them. And then you go into review to make sure that it's solid enough after all these optimizations and modifications to the scale. And finally, we go through to the checkout, where you can actually order what you've uploaded or created.
Awesome, and that's what we're going to be focusing on today.
Exactly. So on the Tuesdays, we do an Ask a 3D Designer webinar.
Yep.
So that's every Tuesday evening French time. It's morning or midday.
Yep, it's 9:30 on the West Coast, and I will be on that one with Alvaze tomorrow.
Yes, that's 9 a.m. I think, isn't it?
I believe it's 9:30, but
okay, it may have changed, but
yeah.
Don't worry, keep an eye on our Google Plus page. That'll give you all the details about that as well if you're watching this live.
Yeah.
But that's Tuesdays. And then upload repair is what we covered in the first session of this particular webinar, which is called Guided Tour. And last week we looked at choosing the parameters for your file and optimizing your design. So hollowing it out and ordering a batch. And as Jess has just said, we'll be looking at this week, review and checkout.
Perfect.
So
and I have to correct myself. You are correct. It's at 9 a.m. Sorry about that.
No worries. It's better we know now than tomorrow. So
Exactly. All right. So perfect. I'm excited to tell you guys about a couple of things here. I'm just gonna make sure that you guys can see me. There we go. So I'm super excited about a couple of things today to share with you this Monday. We actually have a blog on our website that basically kind of walks you through the process of what you can do if you're looking for a makerspace in your area. So I know a lot of people travel in the summertime and maybe you don't want to stop working on your projects. You can utilize this maker map in order to find a makerspace that's around you so that you can kind of continue your work. So it's really cool. I would recommend checking out that article. And then I also want to tell you about the LinkedIn group that we have. You can find our LinkedIn group by searching Sculpteo and just joining the group. You do have to be approved to join, but luckily it takes like maybe 5 minutes to be approved. And our group is starting to become more lively, and they're starting to talk more about materials that they wish they could print in, like dream materials, basically, and other things. Just like it's a really lively community for you to ask questions and get your questions answered by your peers. So I would definitely recommend that. And then my very last update is that we are going to actually, as Alex said, this is our final sort of series on, like, this webinar is our final of this series. And so we're going to be starting a new one on Monday, which I am super excited about. And we're going to be talking specifically about robotics, actually. So we are going to deep dive into the website and kind of talk about how you can implement a lot of the tools that we have online with the vertical of robotics. So we're super excited about that.
Yeah, so my understanding there is that where the guided tour has been very general,
Mm-hmm.
if you're someone who's interested in robotics or interested in a particular vertical, every week we'll be focusing on one domain and really showing precisely the tools that help them best.
Exactly. You said it perfectly, Alex. So we're very, very excited for that. So we will see you then. If you're interested, go ahead and sign up the way that you've been signing up to these, and we will make sure that you get an invite.
Cool. Okay,
Awesome.
well, I don't know, is there any other news before I begin for review and checkout?
That's it for me, unless you have anything.
No, it was really just to talk about the review. I mean, we mentioned last week about some things that moved out of the beta program. So we have a beta program at Sculpteo. I can quickly show that when I start doing
that'd be great.
So here we go. So when you're on Sculpteo, if you're logged in, you can see this link to beta version. If we go to that, basically what this means is that you join the beta program and certain functions on the site that we're working on at the moment. Sorry, my sound may have cut for a second there. So basically the beta program, you just join with this link down in the footer once you're logged in, and you can join or leave it. So for example, I could join it here and it'll say that I've joined, and then all I have to do is, if I want to come back, I can now leave it. So it's that easy. And you can see that you're a member of the beta program or not by just looking up here. At the moment, there's no extra features in the beta program. So we're working on some pretty exciting stuff that should be getting out soon. I would say in the next 2 to 3 weeks, we should have some interesting announcements for the beta program. And basically, that's how you would see them. You'd be one of the first people to get to see these things and give us feedback about them. We do encourage you through any channel, whatever channel you're most comfortable with, getting in touch with us. We will also occasionally send emails. It shouldn't be more than 1 or 2 a month. I'd say 1 a month is more than enough for the beta program, where we're basically just asking for feedback on what we're doing. Does it fit your requirements? Does it help you do what you need to do with 3D printing and Sculpteo?
Perfect.
So that's really all I wanted to go on about before we started talking about reviewing your files.
Awesome. Perfect. So let's go ahead and get into it.
Sure. So I'm going to pick a file here from the shops.
Okay.
So just to show you how I did that, I'm on the home page, and here we can see all kinds of great things like the resource center. I can get in there. I can get to the blog from here as well. We can also get to our shops. So here are people like you or me or anyone else watching who have uploaded their own design, and they have decided to sell the design. So they may have added their own, may have added a bit of a margin or whatever to that. But basically, this is their 3D, and they're sharing it with everyone so that everyone else can print their design. And then they can embed this in their own websites and do all kinds of stuff like that. But what's caught my eye is this by the M family. We have this kind of, it's made for your desk. It's kind of a desk ornament to put your pens and pencils in.
Yeah.
So this is Michael Malapert's design, and he calls it dark glass. But I'm Irish, and this may be a bit risque, but I've always preferred shot glasses. So I want to make this a little bit smaller. I'm going to make this a little 4 centimeter tall glass. So I have this little wireframe thing, and I've made it the size I want, and this looks like a very decent price. I'll just pop this into dollars for our American users. And this looks like a reasonable price now. I'm at under 20 bucks for this little shot glass for my desk.
Yeah.
As you can see, it won't hold much other than pens and pencils.
Exactly. I was thinking that.
It's probably a good thing in the office.
Exactly.
So the problem now is I've changed the scale. So I've done everything we've been looking at in previous webinars, where I've gotten hold of some 3D, I've moved into the print page, I've changed the scale. When I change the material as well, I can pop it into yellow here. So we've been doing everything we've been looking at, but what we haven't checked so far, now obviously it's wireframe, I don't need to hollow this.
Right.
But what I need to do is review this file. Now there's 2 ways of doing that. There's either going to the review tab here in the print page, and I can actually make this full screen. So I can go to the Review tab here on the print page, and this gives me access to the Solidity Check. Now, as you can see, that most of this is red, unfortunately.
Right.
The
And red is
wireframe
a bad
design.
color.
Yeah, in most cultures, red is a bit of a warning that something's going to go wrong.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so here we have this big red glass. This is like a heat map of the solidity of the object. And this is based on the material. If I change this to another material, it will change. So Solidity Check automatically gives you a heat map of where your object is most fragile. And here it's almost certain that I won't be able to print this. I mean, my base plate will come out okay, but the rest of this will all be a mess. And unfortunately, I'll get a call from customer support saying, sorry, we're not going to be able to print this. However, we like to make a lot of stuff automatic. So we do have some great tools to help out with this, including thickening, which was released around December of 2014. So it's been around for about 6 months now.
Yeah.
And what's great here is I can just click a button. And now what's basically happening is online, so you don't have access to the 3D. This is someone else's 3D. I can't download their 3D or anything. But that doesn't stop me from being able to print it, because online on our servers, we've taken this 3D and we're generating a new mesh around the thinnest parts. And as you can see now, it's much thicker.
Yep.
Okay.
But it's still, it still looks the same, basically. So it has the same like architecture as the other one. It's just thicker. So it doesn't change the design at all.
Exactly. Basically, what happens with a lot of thickening algorithms, so this is our own algorithm. We developed it internally. A lot of thickening algorithms will try to do something similar to inflating. If a part is too thin, they'll try to inflate it, which causes a lot of problems, because if you have acute angles or very, very tight spaces, by inflating it, you're going to have crossed volumes and all kinds of problems with your 3D.
Right.
So it makes it thick enough on the screen, but it causes a lot of problems then when you want to print it. Because we're a 3D printing company, we've focused on making things printable. So instead of inflating the original geometry, we create a new geometry around the thin parts. And it's more like shrink wrap almost, which is basically just only around the thinnest parts. We're not inflating the rest of the geometry. And what this means is that the thickening only occurs where it's most needed, and it respects the original geometry as closely as possible. Awesome. And then when it gets to multicolor and stuff like that, we'll try to redo the textures and redo the colors as best we can.
Awesome.
It's not perfect for multicolor. You do need to make sure that you look in the viewer, have a good look at all the important parts of your model to make sure that we got the textures right. But I mean, 9 times out of 10, it gives you a perfect result. So,
awesome. Just by clicking a button. So that's amazing. That's really cool.
Yeah. Now, the other thing, you may have seen this with hollowing and all the other features that we have, is that this is fully automated. You just hit one button. So if I change the scale, we'll do this now. If I change this to 6, it's going to adapt the thickness of those wires to respect this minimum solidity threshold. So thickening has automatically kicked in here. So I have nothing to do. It's fire and forget, basically. So this is a very, very, very easy way to make sure that you'll be able to 3D print things that were not printable before.
Very cool. And you said it's been going for about 6 months. So yeah, I'm sure people have definitely enjoyed using it rather than having to kind of piece by piece redo their model and then upload it again. So it saved a lot of time for people.
Yeah, especially when you want to change scale.
Yeah.
One of the heartbreaking stories just before we released thickening was, it was with Alvise actually. He had a model. He uploaded it. He saw that it was red in certain areas. So he remeshed the whole thing manually on a third-party software. You know, as you do, you're using Autodesk or Cutaway or using some kind of third-party software like that. And he painstakingly had to do everything, upload it again, and then we got a call back from the customer saying, sorry, I gave you the wrong dimensions. We'll need that to be just about 2 centimeters bigger.
Oh my God.
And
so he had to go through it again. Oh no.
Yeah, so that's what's great about the fully automated process, is that it just automatically, we've seen as we were speaking, I mean, that took less than a minute, I'd say about 40 seconds. And we have this mesh. Now, if I turn it off, it'll just turn off thickening. You see it's much thinner here.
Right. Yep.
And we'll get our solidity check. Now, some of these things do take, now you can see it's still red here. So some of these things do take a few minutes. Thickening is depending on the complexity of your model, can take a few minutes. I mean, I've seen it take up to 2 or 3 minutes.
Okay.
But we're still talking, you don't have time to get a coffee.
Right, exactly. Does it matter with material? So like if something's extremely detailed, but it's being printed in something that's not multicolor, does that affect the timing of the thickening tool, or?
Yes
really?
and no.
Okay.
It affects it in the sense that every material has a different solidity threshold.
True. Okay.
Okay, so multicolor, it's something like 2 millimeters or 1.5 millimeters, something like that. Plastic, which is what we're printing in, has 1 millimeter. So every material has its own solidity threshold, which will change the amount of thickening that's needed to make it printable.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so at a given scale, this model would take longer to make printable in multicolor. I mean, we can try it. I can just pop it into multicolor, and we're automatically now trying to thicken it.
And you can see how the pricing changes as well from material to material.
Yeah, and that's taken into account with the thickening because we are using more material.
Right, exactly. It's really
cool. So just let this take care of. But still at 6 centimeters here. But in any case, so it adapts automatically to everything. And that's what's so great about it. Now, I'm not going to wait 2 or 3 minutes here. I'm going to switch us back to, we wanted yellow plastic at 4 centimeters.
Awesome. That's good to know that you can actually switch it while it's still loading. So like you don't have to wait for one.
Exactly. All of this is very robust to, I mean, that's what came up in a lot of our tests was, especially with things that take time, you can't allow the system to get into a blocking situation.
Yeah.
So we always try to avoid that.
Yeah. I feel like that frustrates me, I know, most of all when I'm waiting for something to load on my phone or something like that. You're kind of tapping your fingers waiting for it to go. So
yeah. Now, the problem is that we are dealing with 3D, which is, I mean, most 3D operations are done with software on a PC where they can use the entire CPU. A lot of this we're doing kind of a mix on the browser, on our servers, and we're trying to make sure that we're keeping things small enough that we can send them to you without using 20 megabytes of connection. So you have to be really careful when we're doing it. We have to be very careful to make sure that we're giving you reasonable times.
Absolutely. That's good to know. I don't think I knew that. And for the viewer that just came in, if you have any questions for us, I do want to let you know that you can actually ask those by clicking the 6 buttons. Actually, they're like boxes up in the top right-hand corner of your screen. You can just go ahead and type in your question, and we can give you an answer for that. So go ahead, Alex. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, no worries. Actually, it's not an interruption. This is definitely a conversation. So if people want to ask questions, do get in touch, and we'll be able to answer them live. That's why we're here.
Awesome.
But you were talking about this idea of kind of what you see, what you get idea earlier, and that's kind of what this next part here is the final proof. So I'm looking at my solidity check here, but if I go into the final proof, I can just click a button. Let's make sure that one. So I can just click a button here with final proof to explain what the 3D print dossier is. This is something we released again around December. And what's great about this is it gives you a realistic view of what your 3D print is really going to look like. To give you a reason why that would be important is we have customers who print things like topological maps of the moon or Mars. The problem with a topological map is when you have something that is normally the size of a planet shrunk down to something about 2 inches across, Olympus Mons, which is a huge mountain, is still tiny because you've really reduced the scales. And it's so small that it's smaller than a single layer of powder.
Oh, wow.
Which means that no matter what planet you want to print, even if it has Olympus Mons on it, it'll turn out a sphere. You're printing a golf ball, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Except it's a very poorly detailed golf ball. It's really more of a ping pong ball that you just printed. And a lot of customers would be disappointed by that kind of result, but it's just a reality of 3D. When you're looking at a 3D viewer, it's showing you every single little detail. When you 3D print the physical object, it'll show you exactly, I mean, it printed what you asked it to print. It's just that the resolutions are different.
Mm-hmm. So you have the opportunity to actually see what it will look like on the final proof. Exactly. So that there are no surprises, and you're able to actually kind of see it as though you were holding it in your hand, sort of. Exactly.
You see the layers, you see the effects that the layers will have on your model. Mm-hmm. You can see what details will be lost. So it's kind of like anti-marketing image almost. We're not showing you the booth babe with the lipstick and this beautiful car. Mm-hmm. We're really showing what you're going to get. And so that's really easy. It's literally just a click away. As long as you're logged in, all you have to do is hit this button and we'll start preparing it. Now, it does take a few minutes depending on your design. It will take into account things like the thickening that we've already done. It will generate this 3D print final proof that we were talking about. Mm-hmm. But it'll also do a lot of other stuff, like create blueprints so that you know exactly the size you're printing in. It will create all kinds of things like the solidity check. It'll show us the solidity check from multiple angles. If I have already ordered from Sculpteo, or if I have entered in a delivery address, it will generate a quote for me with a quote number. I can just pop that quote number in, and I've got my design with these settings. The material, color, finish, scale, and everything is conserved. So it's really, really, really good.
Yeah. That's amazing. Now, is it only online, or are people able to actually print it out and take it with them or show other people? Like,
oh, actually, that's the whole point. We generate a PDF.
Nice. Perfect.
So it's just a standard PDF, and we email you a link. So as you can see, it is taking 2 or 3 minutes because there's a lot of stuff being done here in the background.
Yeah.
But just to be safe, we email it to your username's email address. You'll get that. We don't put a huge file in your email. We just put a link to it. And you can use that link to get access to that PDF. You can print it off. You can send the link to someone else. It's yours, basically. And so it's really good for validation purposes. Mm-hmm. We'll see when I get the file here. Because we have the blueprints, if I print it off at 100% scale, so it's standard A4, or if you're US, it'll be letter-sized paper. If you print this off on a standard printer at 100%, those are scale blueprints. So you could literally cut it out and make a little paper craft model almost of what you're going to get. Actually, this is taking a little bit longer than I thought. I might go to a pre-prepared one here.
Okay.
But we'll come back to this first tab so you can have a look later.
Yeah.
But basically, this just turns into a download button and says, hey, you can download the dossier now. But sometimes, as I said, it can take 3 to 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. And I'll just get emailed this anyway, so there's no real problem.
And we have done a lot of stuff to the model as well. So we changed the size and thickened it and a bunch of other things. So,
well, that doesn't actually have that much of an effect.
It doesn't?
No, the operations you've applied to your model, what you've done to it, doesn't really change. What does change is, for example, we can see here that we have lots of complex intersecting forms with things that are behind, in front, and things like that.
Okay.
That takes just a little bit longer to render than a cube.
Okay.
If you have a cube, you just have one big face, so we know what color it's going to be, how it's going to reflect light. But this will be much more complicated. And also, we have to do the solidity check. We have to do the final proof image. We have to generate. Basically, we're slicing this model for you and making sure those slices represent the size of layer that you're going to be seeing in the 3D printer. So we're basically 3D printing it for you live, but electronically. So we're just doing a digital version of what you're going to see. But as you can see, it does take 3 to 5 minutes. But don't worry, you get emailed the link. And if we pop into one that's prepared, this is what you see. It's just a normal PDF. I see who the original author was, so we maintain that. I have links to the original design, so I can check that out. I can pop down here. I see the price, so we're talking how much it costs. We're talking about the material I chose. I have my little index here. I can go down here. I can see if I zoom in. Here I can see the layering effects that we were talking about. Okay.
And that's amazing. It's super
so we can see exactly that we're going to have a bit of a texture on the wires here. Now, again, this is just an indication of the types of effects that layering will have. This is not necessarily the orientation that we will print in. It's just showing you an idea of what this scale model and this type of shape will look like when it comes out of the printer. So it'll have these layering effects. As you can see, that's perfectly fine for my desk.
Right.
And we see our solidity check here. Everything, as the legend says, looks good. And you always have links to the design guidelines to get help if you have a problem. So this is a really, really good document to generate. It really helps you out. And here are scale blueprints. So as I said, I can print this out. I'll see exactly how big my little shot glass is going to be. And that's basically it for the final proof. It's a fantastic document. Excellent for validation. If you're the designer, if you're a freelance designer printing for clients, this is a great document to send them so they can see everything.
Exactly.
So it's very, very good. It really helps tighten the iteration cycle on a 3D print. And you can see our first tab here has become a download button now, so I can just, same one for this. See, it just loads up, and here we are. Now I did the same one. Unfortunately, it was 4 centimeters here and all that kind of stuff. You can see here it's in dollars because we were in dollars, so it'll do everything, telling you if it includes or not sales taxes and stuff like that.
That's
so
awesome.
you know, I can't basically suggest doing final proof enough. It's really great document.
It's a wonderful, useful tool for inventory as well. So like if you're trying to kind of document how many times you've printed something out or had something printed, or the variety of products that you're offering to clients, this would be another way to kind of hold on to that information and have it readily available. So it's very cool.
I mean, don't forget that when you're in your objects gallery, you can do stuff like that as well. Create stacks. So for example, if these are 2 things that I printed for a client project, I can just create a stack and say client projects. And now I have my client projects stack here, and I can just say, for example, this robot here, the 67p robot was part of that as well. I can just drag it, and now it's in the client projects stack. See here, 67p robot. So I mean, you can do that with stacks as well. So there's multiple ways of achieving a lot of different things.
Yeah, definitely.
But we needed to say the checkout as well. Now, I'll quickly, we were looking, all we can look here is in dollars, so you can see it. So we're going from €18 to $20. So here I am. I have my thickened model. I'm going to let the solidity check, make sure that everything looks good. So here we are. We're rendering the heat map of solidity that I was talking about earlier. And everything looks good. But I can also do a cutaway view here. What the cutaway view does is it basically gives me an inside view. It's not very interesting with this model, but if I look at the robot, for example, did we find a name for our robot?
We did not, and I am actually going to consider your suggestion of like doing a contest or something so that people can kind of offer their ideas for what we should name the robot, because it doesn't have a name. It needs a name.
Poor guy or girl.
He or she, yeah.
Not even that's been decided.
Exactly.
So anyway, but anyway, as you can see, I've got this cutaway view here, and it's just here under Solidity Check, cutaway view. I turn it on, and it gives me this kind of X-ray vision where I can just slide through. It's a bit like a CAT scan of my model here, and I can see that this guy or girl is articulated here. So you can see here in the center, we've got this little articulated piece.
Oh, cool, yeah.
And I can see it from any orientation, so I can see here. And I can zoom in and do all kinds of great stuff.
So is it actually hollowed or is it solid?
So this is solid. You can see that by the dark gray.
Yeah.
If you want, I can quickly hollow them, show you what that looks like.
Sure.
Why not?
I know,
It's
right?
online anyway. No, I don't know how long this will take, but I'd say about a minute. Whoa, that was quick. Looks like it's almost done, actually. So I'll just add my quick holes to remove powder, and then we'll check out Cutaway View.
So
While we're waiting for that.
Oh,
yep.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay, I was just going to ask if you want to talk a little bit about hollowing and the price that it's at currently and how hollowing affects that. I know we covered it in some previous videos as well, so I don't know if you want to.
No worries. So we covered it last week, actually, and it's probably the reason you want me to cover it is because you're seeing $6,000 for a robot.
Exactly.
Like, yeah, I'm sure Terminator cost a bit more than $6,000, but
definitely, he's made out of like liquid titanium or something, though.
Yeah. So basically, what hollowing does is it gets your 3D model, and what it does is it creates an inner shell. And we do this in such a way that we respect minimum thicknesses for the walls to make sure that your model will remain solid. We're not talking about the minimum for fragility. We're really making sure that it's about 2 or 3 times the solidity threshold to make sure that you have a good solid model. I've just hollowed out the chest here, and you can see I halved my price. More than.
Yeah. So it's a wonderful tool. We have previous videos on it, and it's all over our resources page as well. So if you want more info on that, you can definitely find it by searching hollowing.
Yeah, and I mean, now I've gone down to $1,500. I was at almost $6,000.
Oh, did you add more? You must
yeah, so there's because well, I'll show you now in the Cutaway View. That's why I added them. So I'll just click done here. It's going to update that model, so it's sending that information back to us so that we can update your model. It's non-destructive. If I turn hollowing off, I have my original model back.
Okay, nice.
So there's no problems there. I'll just go into review here and show you what happened. Cutaway View. We'll go through the Y direction here so we can look from the front. So as you can see, we've got these hollowed spaces here now in the feet, in the chest, here in the kind of waist region here, in the head. And I'm going to keep going through with the cutaway position here. As you can see, even the arms are hollowed out, and I've added a few holes up in the back here. So you can see I added holes here, which allow us to get the powder out. And basically, it means that I'm at 1,500. We were at an initial price of 6,000. So you're talking 75% discount.
Yeah. It's really beneficial to utilize that tool.
And it's a huge model. This is just so we'll see it. I'm not going to do that. So you're talking about a foot high here. So this is a huge robot. We're talking about a foot high and about 9 inches on each side as well.
Yeah.
So a huge robot, and I've just cut the price in. It's a quarter of the price. So I did nothing except hit one button and add a few holes. So really hollowing, it's a killer combo, especially when you bear in mind that you can add this to a lot of things. But speaking of savings, there's another thing that you can do which will save you a lot as well. As you can see that sometimes we have this thing qualifies for economy plan.
Yeah.
So sure, we'll do it with my robot here.
Okay.
When you go to review and checkout, sorry, I'll go back here. When you go to review and checkout, we'll automatically switch you into a Solidity Check view. This just lets you make sure that the model is sufficiently solid. This is obviously not a problem for a model that's 1 foot high, but we're just going to add our little robot to the basket now. I'm going to pop into the basket here. So here we are. So we're in our basket, and I can see here that I have this thing, production plan. We have our initial price of $1,500, and it qualifies for economy plan, and I can save another $230 by just clicking economy. Now, there's naturally a payoff. If I am using economy mode, the economy production plan, it basically means that you're telling us okay, this robot, the most important thing to me is money, not time. A lot of our customers, one of the most important needs is to get it as quickly as possible. So we will always deliver to you as quickly as possible. You can see this guy, even though he's a foot tall, would have gotten to me by next Wednesday. I think that's next Wednesday anyway. So by like within a week, I've got my guy. But in this case, no, it's just a decoration for my desk. I'm fine to wait an extra week or so. So I'm going to get him between mid-July to the third week of July.
Awesome. So did you talk about what we default to? So like we always default to getting it as quickly as possible rather than, okay, perfect. I know that that was something that really impressed me when I first heard about it, because when you think about it, people are needing to get things quickly. So that's good to have that as the default, but it's great to have the option to kind of put it off. Just like you were saying, like you don't need this piece. It's less functional. It's more kind of decorative. So yeah. You don't need it immediately.
Well, that's exactly what, when a lot of people do price comparisons, you do need to take into account these kinds of special plans, because every company does different plans.
Right.
And you need to make sure that you're choosing the right one for your needs, because, for example, Sculpteo, we've always focused on speed. Because of the history of 3D printing, is a lot of people need it for prototypes, or they need it, for example, we work with startups who are doing Kickstarters and they need a couple of hundred items yesterday. So we work with a lot of people who are under time constraints, and we default to the fastest delivery possible. So that's why sometimes you could compare us with another company and say, they're $3 more expensive on this $1,300 robot. Maybe I'll go with the other guys. But I just saved $230 by saying, hey, I'll choose economy plan because I don't need it that fast. Perfect. So do when you're doing any kind of price comparisons, bear in mind that this does exist and check it out.
Very cool. That's awesome.
That's about it. I mean, if I keep going, I've chosen the 1300. I'll just enter in my address and all that kind of normal stuff. I can choose the kind of delivery plan that we're looking at. Almost all of our plans come with tracking as standard, so there's no problem. And actually, I think I should show one last thing, but I'll need to show that on another account. Because you have this thing called order tracking. Now, I've never ordered anything with the webinar account, but if I pop into, I could probably use my other account. Yeah, this is my. So this is my staff account. I don't want that one either. This looks good. So this is my personal account. I've got my photo here, so nice little mugshot. I'm going to go to order tracking.
By the way, that photo is hilarious. It's awesome.
Oh, it was one of those surprise photos that you say, hey, that actually worked out really well.
Exactly.
But anyway, we'll look at one of my orders here. I printed off some dice. Here's a knee I made for a friend. So I made a keyring for a friend. I got a scan of her knee, and this was like an X-ray or something. I made a 3D model, made a keyring, and I was able to see exactly where it was, when it got there. Perfect. It was queuing, 3D printing. When it was ready to ship, I got my packing slip and tracking numbers. Everything was there, and it's all in the footer here at order tracking. So even after you've ordered, you can still keep track of everything. You can get receipts and invoices. All the information is here, so it's really, really good to see exactly when the estimated delivery is, all that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's really beneficial to have, especially if you are kind of not doing the saver idea. If you want to receive it as quickly as possible, you can kind of follow it along the way and make sure that whoever's receiving it, whether it's yourself or a client, they know when they can get it. So very cool. That's awesome. Do you have anything else that you want to share about the series in general, or anything about the previous videos, or where we can find additional information if we need it?
Yep. Well, I think the most important thing is, if you have any questions, your first stop should be the resources pages. So you just head to the, actually, you head to sculpteo.com. Up in the top bar, you'll see information on materials or resources. And just click on whichever one is most pertinent to your requirements. The resources page, you have a search bar, so you can search for any information about tutorials for third-party software, the materials or optimization tools, check out information about economy plan. Everything is there, so don't hesitate to go there. Check out our other videos for the guided tour. This is the second season of Guided Tour, and we'll be starting a new season next week where, well, actually, you'll be starting it, Jess. I think you're taking over completely for that.
Yep.
So you'll be doing all these vertical deep dives into different verticals for 3D printing. And a lot of those videos will be very specific, so don't hesitate to check out the YouTube channel and find ones that are pertinent to your requirements as well for that. So I think that's about it.
Perfect. And I just want to say, don't forget to check us out on LinkedIn. Go ahead and join our community so that we can hear from you and talk to you. That would be wonderful. And definitely check out the Maker Map article that we have on our blog. It is a very beneficial one so that you can find where your community is around you. So it's perfect. That is it for me. We will see you next Monday. And once again, go ahead and sign up the same way you signed up for this one. Perfect.
Cool. So,
very cool.
Bye-bye, everyone. Thanks for coming.
Bye, guys.